Yeah, so I've got us on the beginning stream. I usually give myself like 10 minutes of leeway.
Mm-hmm.
Technically what I can do... Also, I'm gonna move my mic, because fucking I was rewatching the stream from yesterday back, and everyone else was echoing like a bitch, so I'm like, "Eeh." That's not great listening. I could use my headphones, but they're... right, I was supposed to get headphones today, and didn't. I got coffee, I got mixer, I got booze, I forgot headphones. That's why I walked into Big W. I'm dumb sometimes.
So we got regardless. I was wondering, how did my audio come through? Because I've always been not entirely sure whether my voice has always been
You're very
decent.
loud. Like, straight up,
Oh.
You're very loud on stream. You're louder than I am, which is surprising considering I'm usually right next to the mic. So yeah,
Oh, maybe
your audio is
just turn
good.
my.
No, like,
Okay.
it's not a bad loud, it's a... You come through clear and, like, flawlessly. The only issue is entirely on my end with echoing.
Okay, apparently I was born with a voice for radio.
Apparently. Or your mic is just really good at picking you up.
Ba 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 booey.
Mm-hmm. I'm drinking, watermelon sour and rum. Oh, hello. Somebody subbed. Welcome, G. Oh, hey. G, you subbed. Awesome. But yeah, this is the preamble, aka the we don't know what our shit is, and we fumble around for 10 minutes coming to topics while because I go live before I say... I go live before my go live notification says I go live, so that I've got time for people to show up. It's totally big brain. All it does is add 10 minutes of dead air to the start of the stream, and like half an hour, like 10-15 minutes of myself and whoever is in call with me talking. But yeah, we're sort of just going over different topics and stuff, and hopefully with more viewers and chatters, I'll be able to, like, have more topics and slowly get, like, this exponential thing going on, but I don't know how well that'll go, and I'm kind of restricted into what I can and can't stream because my laptop's really bad, and all the games I want to stream grind to a halt when I run my streaming software. Which is a shame.
Get the decent hardware eventually, and then you will be based.
Hopefully, yeah, because I want to do a bunch of different modded stuff, because I enjoy modding games. Like, half of the enjoyment I get out of any type of game, be it tabletop or, like, emulated in some fashion, so, you know, video games and stuff, boils down to being able to work with the mechanics of it and tweak them in some capacity. Also, I haven't got music on, but I can fix that. Where are you hiding that song? Peace, love, and rock and roll. Dirty Harry. Yeah, that's fair. Gamer notebooks are good. Part of me has always wanted that, there's something... Again, I've already made myself depressed on the walk home this morning regarding this. But, I want a house, but I know that's not a... I would like to own a house, but as a millennial, we know that's not going to happen. But let's suspend our disbelief and say that at some point I get a house. What I would also like is an RPG library of, like, books and stuff, because I just like that idea. Just like a walk-in library closet thing. That's loud. Whoops. An RPG, like, game library of source books and art books and stuff like that. Like, the closest... Yeah, the closest I'm ever gonna get to owning a house is through, like, a pipe dream of a pipe dream of if Red Earth takes off and sells amazingly or something. And even then, it's like... Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a big thing here, but... kind of at that point, right? I try to help out around the house as much as possible to, you know, make up for my inconvenience. There's a reason I haven't even asked to move out of the smallest room in the house. Like, I'm never gonna do that, because, well... One, I'm kind of okay with it. I know how to Tetris my shit fine enough, and 2, that means that because I live downstairs away from everyone, people don't really, see me. Also, hi Dagger.
Hello, Dagger.
We're on the Talkback podcast again. I'll be doing this weekly because it's a good idea, and it's something I can do.
The pain and sorrow and suffering known as Dying Light 2. It's not a bad game. I'm just like suffering through my own trials and tribulations.
That's fair. Yeah, family is such a strange concept to a lot of different cultures. Yeah. Actually, now that you're here, Dagger, I actually had this as a thought on the way back, and I'll imagine you'll have something interesting to weigh in on this. So, this has to do specifically with, like, dating apps and similar. And, some dating apps let you put in, I'm non-binary, etc. But they always have the question that pisses me off the most. It's like, that effectively boils down to, are you a boy non-binary or a girl non-binary?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why go through all this work to make it look like you understand what you're talking about and then shoot yourself in the foot so vehemently?
It's most likely because they don't understand or see the difference, or they don't have people on the team that understand or see the difference / aren't those people. That's why it comes off so like that.
Yeah, because I remember one wasn't for Tinder. It was supposed to be LGBTQ positive of some description. I know more than 2 is good about this, because more than 2 inherently is a polyamorous dating app. So it starts with the idea of, okay, all of the normal shit doesn't work, because the normal shit is for, monogamous one-on-one stuff.
I mean, there's gotta at least be one guy who's at least bi in here, so you gotta have to...
Yeah, no, there is no polyamorous group that doesn't involve at least one non-straight person. Usually the majority is non-straight.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it so great. And also, then you can afford a house. Because you have more than 2 incomes.
Oh yeah, speaking of that I was thinking about, when in doubt, maybe just do what the ancient Greeks did, and not all the ancient Greeks, but basically what that one philosophical school did, which is basically just gather a bunch of friends, you just live in buy a house, you'll live there, you'll contribute to the income, and it's just some sort of...
Is this a frat party? Actually, that's a great idea. Get your entire D&D group to buy a house together, and that way they can't run away from you when it's D&D day.
Oh god, why do I feel like every single weird ideological weird situation idea always just boils down to moving to the countryside and living in a commune? Yeah,
moving to the... That's
how you start a cult.
That's the other joke I make about being polyamorous, is that the reason I'm polyamorous is not because I have the capacity to love multiple people, even though I do. It's so that I have enough people to bully into playing my bad TTRPGs.
It's like that one fucking sort of joke is like, oh, the illusion of choice, becoming extremely right-wing or becoming extremely far left. And it's the same result. Moving with a bunch of weirdos and living in a commune in the woods.
It is! I wish Brazil was small enough that was feasible, but my friends are all over the country. Yeah, isn't, like, the northernmost part of Brazil closer to Canada than it is to the bottom of Brazil?
Yeah, it's sort of
huge.
It's sort of like continental United States size in terms of absurdly large country.
Yeah, Brazil is huge.
You don't think about it because people don't think about South America, unfortunately, but
yeah,
it's big. Down more in Oceania, we feel that pain. Everyone ignores us too, unless the Americans or the Chinese want something.
Yeah. If they want coal, they come to us.
Yeah.
If they want sheep, they go to Top Hat. Sometimes
yeah.
You ever think about how the entire Southern Hemisphere just kind of gets to ignore the Northern Hemisphere except when wars happen?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because we have to be self-sufficient because you guys ignore the fact that we exist 80% of the time. Anyway, this was an interesting tangent from what started as... What did this tangent... Right. Fucking, I guess you
Yeah.
call it... I guess...
Commune jokes.
Yeah. 4.39 kilometers. That doesn't sound right. Oh, 4,394 kilometers. That makes way more sense.
That's actually a big size.
Yeah, no, I was like, 4.394 kilometers? My city's bigger than that.
What is this? What is this? A country for ants?
No, it's the Rome... It's Rome. Which is still... Yeah, 4,000. My dumb ass saw the comma as a decimal point. I'm like, that's a small country.
It's not even big enough to fit an espresso.
Yeah, fucking... Right, this was coming from the whole, like, dating app thing of... Sometimes they do, air quotes, the bare minimum, and even then they botch it.
I've never used a dating app.
Most of them are shit.
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, like, in general...
They kind of get... Okay, the reason why I've never used a dating app is because, one, I met my girlfriend on a different platform, like, years and years ago when we were both, like,
Yeah.
around 14 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, secondly, I think, in some weird fashion, dating apps are kind of... They have a certain air to them, if you get my drift.
They always
yeah,
feel like
definitely.
they're designed to fail. Have too
Yes.
understand the use of
Not
dating apps.
that inherently, it's more so like the way to seek out a relationship, right, is kind of like flawed on dating apps specifically.
Yeah, because it's like, it's trying to condense what you would get in, say, a speed date into a text format, but poorly? And yeah,
Because
they're too based to
the only thing that would
understand
make
dating apps.
speed dates work is the fact you're actually physically there with the other person.
Yeah, so you're able to read body language and a bunch of other things. Though I will say,
Not just
I'm amazed that in the year of our Lord, 2023, we still don't have a Tinder equivalent for finding a D&D group. The closest we have is like
Oh, yeah,
fucking
definitely.
Reddit posts. Like, why the fuck don't we have that equivalent? Actually, dating apps might work better for finding friends. Like if they,
oh no, most definitely.
yeah, like
I think you'd find a friend
It's-
much.
yeah, like using it as like a trying to find a friend approach might actually, like, you just have to remove the whole dating thing. It's like, hey, are you a random socially awkward person or just don't know how to, like, don't know where in your town to go to meet people? Try.
I will say, right,
Not.
I will say, I've seen a few ridiculous dating apps out there, specifically, those, like, really hard-ass, right-leaning dating dating apps, right? Or,
Farmers
like,
only.
how do I put this? What'd you say?
I said farmersonly.com.
No, that's not what I was talking about, but no. In recent history, about, like, 2 or so maybe 3. 2 or 3 dating apps have cropped up and, like, subsequently died because literally no one's gonna use them. They were, like, really hard, not hard, right, but, like, conservative dating apps that promoted themselves. Yeah, a woman can't change their pronoun to man, or some shit like that, and it's just like, who the fuck is gonna use this? Like, nobody uses these apps, right? They put so much effort. Well, they put little effort into these applications, right? Just so that they can get some money out of it, because they know the conservative audience are stupid enough to like buy into like some bullshit because like,
Yeah.
oh no, pronouns are so bad. Pronouns are so bad. Okay, I would just call you motherfucker from now on. That's not a pronoun. That's just who you are. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Also pointing out the fact that those types fall into two categories. One, they don't get sex ever, or two, they just use the normal dating apps to find gay. And they end up dating gay people, into prostitutes or whatever, because
Yeah.
that is a weird trend with the extreme.
Yeah, how
Like, you could
fucking,
tell- look,
there were
you
like 3
you know what-
extremely hardline fucking transphobic politicians who have been outed for watching and donating to trans porn streamers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything
Also-
that substitute a name is a pronoun, which is part of the whole thing of like, did these people not graduate 2nd grade?
Also, my favorite.
I
It's
don't
like
think.
you could-
Okay.
You could
I
tell
think,
politicians pinks based on what they are vehemently against.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
I'm
even funny
against-
at this point. It's just
I am against hard, rock solid gay butt sex, and specifically that. Why?
No,
No
comment,
comment.
Your Honor.
But specifically, yeah, those kinds of websites, they're just kind of like, they're yikes, but like they're not the worst thing I've seen.
I think the weirdest dating app I saw in recent memory was a rich people for rich people dating app that cost $230 to download onto your phone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna download that, man. Yeah, man. I'm rich enough to download a fucking rich people
And
dating
it
app.
specifically said in its info too, we are not looking for sugar babies on this app.
Well, damn. Too bad.
I know, right?
Anyways.
And then it linked to a second app. It had a link to a second app, which was their sugar babies one.
Bruh.
I'm not a sugar
Just make
baby.
it one.
I'm gonna,
Just make it one application. Fucking.
I wanna turn a fucking billionaire into my pay pig.
I
Hey-
mean,
hey, man.
I do have some papers,
Hey,
but
listen.
sadly none of them are billionaires.
Listen, I date a billionaire because knowing them, they're probably gonna die in a couple of years, knowing their old asses. So hey, I'm chilling.
Oh, excuse me.
It
It's
may
not
sound
that
like a
weird.
disgusting thing. It may sound like a disgusting thing from a morality point, but they probably
They're
probably had
billionaires.
more.
Morals are out of the question already.
I mean, they probably had more people inadvertently killed than I ever can nor slash ever could. So hey, guess what? I'm written in the will, bitches. We're partying.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that double guac
Well.
walk vortex throat goat and get me my paycheck.
Indeed.
Listen,
But also, let's
Listen.
just this like
I am going. I'm
This
gonna
employee
use I'm gonna use the pepper shaker on that bitch. They're not coming back the same. All right.
I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give out that butt pussy like it's free lemonade.
All right. This conversation is getting too cursed.
This is every conversation that happens here, man. Like,
I know,
it's just
but,
a
like,
collection of
it gets
tangents
to a point-
loosely in a line, and then we get spurred on by chat occasionally when people show up.
All right. But
Chowder, sweetheart, my communist ass pussy got me questioning my loyalty to the Amazon Corporation.
Usually it's not my ass pussy that does that to people, but you're not that far off.
Oh.
Also, I pick up my girlfriend in 6 days. Wait, no, 5 days.
Hell yeah!
Well, I'm chilling.
Congratulations on the sex.
Congratulations on me getting dominated. Let's go.
Heyo.
This is the cock of the people, bourgeoisie. That's gotta
But,
be a line from a really bad porno, right? Like, that's gotta be.
Oh yeah, by the way, recent shittery has happened, but so
Fine.
a new game is coming out today. Right.
Mhm.
It's called Atomic Heart.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving
Oh,
the
yeah.
art style of that.
I love it.
people-
I've been paying attention to it for like ever, and
I've been keeping watchful eye out for it for like almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
And people right now in the current atmosphere are complaining that well, because it's a Russian-made game, right? That means it has integral ties to the Russian government and Russia, and like since like the devs are based in Russia, and they haven't really made a statement about like being anti-Russian during the Russian-Ukraine conflict, people are getting pissy at them, and I'm just sitting here like, do you guys know what happens to like
Yeah, no,
creatives whenever
everything
they
that
make?
looks at it, like, anything in there I'm looking at going, this really just reads more as, you know, some people who are actually communists poking fun at the Russian government who masquerades as communist.
Okay, so specifically, like people are getting like really like, oh, you shouldn't play Atomic Heart because the fucking the
Yeah.
not the game dev specifically, like the head of the company, not the game dev, mind you, had an anti-Ukraine stand. But the thing is, right? I think I don't think people understand that like whenever you're creative in like Russia in like the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, like if you say anything anti-Russian towards the government, you will get fucking flagged and probably taken somewhere. It's almost happened to a few remember when the writer for the
And
Metro
yeah,
games
it kinda
got
is.
put on a list?
It kind of is still pretending to be communist. It's in the same ballpark as China, where it's like, yes, state-owned capitalism. Yes, this is totally communism, sort of situation. And yeah, as you were saying, Dagger, that's just the nature of a lot of authoritarian countries in general, where it's like, yeah, you say something that's, you know, a boo-boo regarding them, and boom, suddenly you're in the deep shit. Fuck, that's still an issue in America.
ah yes,
Oh yeah, in some parts of
ah
America,
yes,
yeah.
beautiful if no irridentist downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of people are really pissed off about, oh, they're a Russian company, they haven't taken a stance against Russia. You remember what happened to the last video game company that took a stance against Russia?
No, because they wiped the records clean.
No, they were called the Metros. They were called the studio that made Metro
Yeah.
had a slight anti-Russian sentiment, right? Because, specifically, they were making the Metro games based off the Metro books. And the Metro books pretty much have a pretty anti-military, anti-government kind of stance towards the Russian government and their practices and trades, etc. Because they live in an alternate reality where war and conflict has pretty much fucked them into like a nuclear winter.
Yeah, you don't need to explain the premise.
Yeah, Metro is a very fun situation. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, the company that made it for making Metro no longer exists for various reasons that boil down to, you know, fucking Russian government didn't like that. And yeah, no, Gio, you do raise a good point. It's like, I always
Combined
get
with the fact that-
super weirded out by America's fascination with making Russia and China the enemy. It's like, you do realize you're just shouting at the mirror, right? You guys already black van people. You guys were doing that throughout the entirety of 2020 through 2022. But no, they're also the bad guys. And I'm not absolving Russia or China here, by the way. I fucking hate them too.
America has America has always been about exceptionalism in like a vague sense.
Yeah.
Yes, we are American. We are the best that best can be. When like a good portion of the population doesn't even have fucking healthcare, living paycheck to paycheck. LMAO.
Where did I get added?
What'd you say?
I'm trying to figure out why I got added in the Bower.
Oh,
Let me see.
you
Ah, okay. Fucking Maz doing Maz things. Okay, that makes way more sense. Fixed
Fucking
it.
Maz.
It's all good.
I forget the Bower exists sometimes, I'm gonna be real.
Oh yeah, no. Swatting people is a big thing in America, where there are streamers who have been swatted 4 times in the same stream. There are fucking streamers who've been swatted 7 times in the same week. It's fucked.
The fact that swatting is even a thing that can happen in the States is just fucking absurd.
Yeah.
Then
Fucking there was on Anthony Padilla's like interview channel thing, whatever the fuck it is, talking to actually I don't remember her name, but she's a relatively big Twitch streamer who usually streams with Ludwig. And her going on about, yeah, it's, some people think it's funny, but like, you're giving people real trauma. There were 3 officers out there who ended up to each of these swattings each night, and they were still doing the exact same shit of come out with your hands up, we're gonna shoot, because they were streaming in California and somebody knew their address. It's fucked.
No, so literally the fact of how the fuck do they not keep track of the addresses of people's like as well as like, oh shit, this is just a random person. I do not think it's like.
And like the other thing is, when
who knows, my guy? They might just be a terrorist tomorrow.
Yeah, might just be a terrorist tomorrow. What a great fucking what a great excuse that America has come up with.
Ah yes, the mighty surveillance state that is unable to actually fucking track down terrorists.
Yeah, and the fucking
meet the surveillance state when terrorists literally start walking up on the Capitol. Oh, they're not terrorists. They're just reads paper.
Patriots.
Violent protesters.
Oh yeah, it's literally the case of they just got rid of all the patriarch stuff, not of any sort of sense of moral goodness, but simply they just got tired of wasting money on it because it literally was unable to give them any useful information.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had information on everyone, but no way to sort through it. They literally had like info on like the guys who did the Boston bombing for like months before they actually did it, but they weren't actually able to find it in that goggled mess.
Yeah. And another thing as well, and that's part of why massive surveillance states are inherently kind of shitty, there's a lot of noise you have to filter through, which means you either have to employ an algorithm or a lot of people. And a lot of people are fallible, and an algorithm is dumb. So there's no real way to sort through that noise efficiently. It's also why, when you hear people go on about, hey, your phone's listening to you, it's like, yes, it might be, but that's not the information it's grabbing. That information is nowhere near as important as just reading your search history. Because trying to listen to what you're actually saying through a microphone and shit, and then translating that into useful information, 1, is expensive, 2, time-consuming, and 3, not all that helpful compared to just going through search history and collating via algorithms that way, because the algorithms are already taught to do that. But yeah, back to the whole swatting thing. One of the other issues with swatting is you can't show, you really can't show that you've been swatted, because if you say that you've been swatted, you're gonna get copycats, and if you don't say that you've been swatted, the people who were doing it originally are gonna keep trying. So you have to try to find a way to surreptitiously not get shot by the cops, and then figure it out from there. It's fucked.
It's. I'd like to say.
It is it's a clown show.
I'd like to say that in America, specifically, right, we have a weird glorification with well, how do I put it? Not just guns, but also the military.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about Marvel movies and the military industrial guns.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my favorite topic.
The fact that Marvel movies. just literally just pure military propaganda.
Oh yeah, no, they're really
Oh no, it's pure. Yeah, no. So basically, if anyone who's out of the know, basically Disney pays the military. I forget which subsection of the military, but I think it's just like in general the fucking like I don't remember the specific like acronym because my brain's bad with acronyms. But basically they pay the military, and the military gives them access to like weapons being used as props, vehicles, and locations for them to not plan out
America is
in
a
like
country that was never betrayed by its military, and it shows. Yeah, it's never really portrayed properly, is it? But yeah, no, back to Marvel movies as war propaganda. Actually, I do have a note on this, but I'm gonna let you finish first, Dagger.
What's up? Oh, okay, but also let's go. Also, specifically in movies such as Captain America: Civil War, right?
That's the one I was gonna go on.
Instead of the agency Shield being known as bad, they made it so that instead of general corruption being in the government, it was just the Nazis.
Yeah.
Hydra. It was just Hydra that was doing all the bad stuff instead of us doing it. It was just kind of like, what?
Yeah, so that's not Civil War, that's Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier? Right, my bad. Again.
They're all because Civil War I actually have specific notes on, because Civil War pisses me off. In a few different ways. There's one thing that I really hate when it comes to, like, the military and Marvel, and it all leads to one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe, Peter Parker. Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because he's usually the, like, most approachable lens, I feel. But yeah, continue.
So, in the MCU, specifically before No Way Home, in the MCU, Peter Parker gets approached by some billionaire, Tony Stark, which, mind you, I don't hate Tony Stark because he's a billionaire. I don't hate him at all, really. I just think, like, in the MCU, he's kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're gonna move on to Civil War pretty soon, Gio. I has opinions on Civil War's message.
But let's get back into it. So basically, Spider-Man gets hired by what's his name? Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is threatening to be like, hey, guess what? If you don't come work for me, I would just tell your mom that you're Spider-Man, because I can do that. And so basically, Spider-Man at the ripe age of like, he was still a teenager when this was happening.
Yeah, no, he was like 16.
At the ripe age of 16 years old,
he's basically a child soldier for a billionaire's personal cock slap fight.
Yes, that's what I was gonna get to. Yes, that's it.
Okay. Now, thematically, and I guess narratively, I have a few gripes with Civil War. We'll start from the comics angle. The ending of Civil War fucking sucks. Why the fuck does it end the way it does? It goes from being actually, what, at least vaguely true to what the comics were, to just devolving into a dick fight over a vaguely personal ham-fisted approach, and fucking Zemo is some random dude that they pulled off the street who looks like a homeless person.
Indeed.
Now, that aside, that's not the important part. Narratively and thematically with Civil War, it is both the worst movie from, like, it's the best piece of war propaganda Marvel has ever put out, and the worst movie because of that. Because, on one hand, you have Tony Stark, who's effectively, his side of the fight is libertarian and believes that there should be government oversight over these things. And essentially that government oversight should be SHIELD or American, and that there should be a what is it? Not Dorwellian. Basically, the sort of governmental and philosophical values that a country should have complete right over its citizens and everything they have approach to. Yeah, arguably the Accords are necessary because of fucking Scarlet Witch. That's not what we're going to. So you have fucking Stark here as countries should have complete right over their citizens and everything they have access to, and the Accords should be a governmental body based. No, sorry. Stark is on the side of the Accords with this sort of interconnectedness and the whole outside extra governmental body overseeing effectively nuclear warheads as people. Then you have fucking Tony. You have Captain America sitting here on the people have agendas, and these people are on their, so these people as part of this extrajudicial body will have agendas. However, what this ends up reading across as either billionaire who's very invested in the military industrial complex believes that effectively the Peacekeeper Corps should have access to all of the nukes, and that he should be the one selling to the Peacekeeper Corps, or the average American knows more about freedom than the rest of the world and should get to dictate what that means to everyone. Neither side of this is a good fight, and you're basically forced to go, there is no in-between. It's fucking weird. And then you get all of the other weird beats, and the fact that, again, Peter Parker literally becomes a billionaire's child soldier at the behest of blackmail, too. Let's not forget that he literally blackmailed a child, and then basically instilled fatherly Stockholm Syndrome in the child.
Indeed.
Which, that's not fucked at all.
Oh yeah, it is basically fatherly Stockholm.
What the fuck?
Oh shit. I know.
And Spider-Man's and it doesn't even try to apply the comics logic of fucking Spidey's approach to it, where Spider-Man plays a pretty crucial role within at least the comic arc for the Civil War, in the fact that he switches sides due to effectively idealism. And none of that comes through because he's a blackmailed 16-year-old forced to fight in a war he has no attachment to.
Not just that, but mind you, he's also fighting other superpowered individuals, which at any point, right, I'm just saying, Winter Soldier is there, right? Winter Soldier is right fucking there. He could have, if Winter Soldier was even slightly stronger than Peter Parker, Winter Soldier could have just fucking killed him right then and there. I'm just saying, that blood would have been on Tony's hands, but it's okay because Peter Parker was, slightly more powerful. It's okay.
Yeah, it's what the fuck? What the fuck?
Wasn't basically the only one of the few decent guys there Black Panther because his motivation was, yo, you murdered my fucking dad.
Yeah.
And the villain of Black Panther, Killmonger.
There was a lot of interesting things going on there. Technically, each of the characters had their own motivations, but they broadly fell into most of the black characters were there as set dressing, with the exception of Black Panther. That's just how it went to me, and it sucked.
It felt like that.
Yeah, it just felt like we're gonna throw Rhodes and Falcon at each other, and we're gonna put them on opposite sides to make it look okay.
Okay, so I also have many issues with a show that came out kind of recently, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh,
that show.
The first few episodes of that are putting up the bad guys as realistically actually the good guys, and then they realize halfway through it's like, man, these people who are feeding the homeless and helping the disenfranchised, fuck, they're supposed to be the bad guys. Make them do a terrorism.
It's just okay.
Why?
So
and then we have drugged the fuck up Captain America.
So fucking Holy shit, that show is just a fucking whiplash. Okay, so my opinion on the show, right? Extremely terribly written, right? Because so it doesn't really get to the bottom of like the bigger issue at hand in the MCU because so basically, if anyone doesn't know what the show is about, because you don't care about the MCU or like anything like Marvel or like Disney based, because that's totally understandable.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think the last MCU property I watched, at least chronologically, was either the Hawkeye show or Spider-Man No Way Home, whichever one of those came out last.
Yeah, so TLDR, basically Thanos destroyed half of the Earth population, or well, not just the Earth but the universe, but like they counted it as Earth as well. So like half of life on every planet in every sector of the galaxy. I don't know how the hell that works.
Don't think about it. Don't think about how that doesn't basically cause most life on most planets to go extinct due to the entire fucking biosphere falling apart.
Like, the only way that can work is if it does it on a species by species basis.
But anyways, we're gonna ignore that.
It also works on like everything like.
We're gonna ignore that because like that's not what the conversation
Maybe it's only
is about.
sentient
like,
life.
Because no, it also affected plants. It's been confirmed it affected plants as well.
So yeah, the biospheres are just fucked.
Oh yeah, no, the biosphere.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking
yeah, I don't know how the universe,
Look,
like a good portion of the breathable universe is survived.
This all makes sense if you imagine Thanos as a Floridian dad who only grills burgers and thinks he knows what's best for the country.
I mean, that is literally what Thanos is.
It's like, why not just, make the resources double? No, this will teach him tough love.
I don't understand. But anyways, basically half of the universe gets snapped away, and fast forward how many years? Like 5, 6, or was it 10?
15,
Either way,
I don't
like
know,
10 to
some amount
6.
of time.
Like 6 to 5 years past, the world has just gone into disarray. Borders are being opened, borders are being closed, general chaos in the streets, and people have to find like new methods of like everything pretty much. So like generally an apocalypse basically, right? People have to make new homes, people have to find new homes, people have to like find new living, find family, etc., right? So guess what? All these people get snapped back into the universe. Oh joy! Oh yay! The people from the universe are back. Whoopee! Mind you, these people that got snapped away are still the same age as when they like got snapped. So like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Reason.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like, still, whatever. It doesn't matter.
And then
so
they use that for a joke at some point.
People are forced to move out of their homes that they have moved into because people from the past lived in there. Right now, this could be used as a compelling like narrative to discuss like border relations and like generational trauma as well.
It could be
because
if they ever tried to do stuff, but that would require them to have competent writers.
But then this leads into basically this group of people who I don't remember what their name was for the life of me because it was so lame that like it basically fell out of my mind instantly.
I think it was like Flag Smashers, which is just the name of a Captain America villain who was the Flag Smasher.
Yeah,
Flag Smashers. That name was so fucking stupid. It just
because like all of this boils down to them bringing up I guess you'd call it a villainous organization, who boils down to we want to elevate the common person so that they are actually have a better standard of living, especially after this globally traumatic event. And then we're going to do the thing that every single piece of fucking media does. It's like, the rebellious ones are the bad guys. People upholding the status quo that hurts people, they're the good guys. And any evidence to the contrary is wrong.
So, TLDR, what happens with these individuals, basically they're just saying, hey, it's kind of unfair that us refugees get pushed out of our new home country when we are technically, by pure technicality, legal citizens of a government that was pretty much defunct for like several years.
Yeah.
So, basically, Disney has to come in and say, well, guess what? Instead of these guys like being like, okay, so these guys are totally reasonable, totally understandable. They're giving out food to the homeless and like kids, giving money to orphanages and whatnot. Guess what? We need a bad guy for this show. So then the Flag Smashers start doing terrorism. Like what?
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
okay.
just like, and now we add in terrorism to make them look like the bad guys. Because if there's one way to make Americans hate someone, it's to imply terrorism.
Yes, imply terrorism. Also, for some reason, I'd like to say, right, the MCU also has a really big problem. I think this also goes for a lot of like military incorporated like movies, but for some reason, not saying it's always racist stuff. I'm not assuming anything. Actually, no, I'm definitely assuming something. For some reason, every fucking like terrorist in the MCU is always a person of like darker skin tone, and it's kind of like,
yeah,
you know,
a little bit unnerving.
Like the only like real like Caucasian villains like we get are like those three guys. So like the guy that was trying to kill Tony Stark, that one weapons dealer in those other movies that died in the first Black Panther movie.
Right, yeah.
And there was another one, I can't remember the name for the life of me, but
They already did my boy. They already did that boy. They already did my boy. Boy, dirty. Can't fucking have South Africans in the MCU.
Yeah, I know,
But-
right?
Oh, we joined.
yeah.
Hey, no.
Hey.
I'm streaming
Hey, individual.
on my channel as well if you want to pull up the stream. But yeah, no, it's Disney has a habit of making questionable decisions.
Yes. Always. And in the end of the show, specifically, basically, Falcon becomes the new Captain America, right? Which I have no problem with.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a problem with it because, well, A, he's black, and two, for some reason, I don't know why they don't think Falcon can be a great fucking, like, Captain America, because that happens in the comics like several times before.
I don't know.
Fuck it. I don't understand comic book fans because they're just as bad as Star Wars fans. They're all shit. Okay. Saying me a comic book and Star Wars fan. Anyways, but I'm cool.
Just like be of
Anyways.
the you know sexual, gender or ethnic minority in any of those groups, and you realize how bad fandoms really are.
Yeah, but let's get back down into the business. In the end of the show, basically, Falcon becomes the new Captain America. He gets up on TV and says, "Okay, hey, rich people, you're really bad people for kicking out all those people out of their homes. Maybe we need to come together and just talk it out." And then he flies off. Like, that's basically like the shit he says. In that,
Yeah, it's just
like I'm not saying it verbatim, but like, holy fuck, that's basically what he said. And then I was just sitting there like, Falcon, you're black. What are you, like, brother?
Oh, and
Brother.
also they fucking they then also sort of like name drop that one of Captain America's friends, whatever Peggy Carter's daughter's name was, ends up head of state for America or SHIELD, and is also the person who runs that fucking pirate island in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the Marvel Universe. It's like, what is the point of any of this?
Yeah, it's like
The dealer, or whatever the fuck her name was? Trademaster? Oh, and Zemo gets off scot-free.
so quick thing. Shield in the MCU stands for Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistic Division, right? And
How very American sounding.
and in specific in the comics it stands for let me see here. Wait, where is it? No, those are the wrong ones. Oh, Strategic
What does that
Hazard
acronym
Intervention
mean?
and
What does that acronym mean to you?
okay,
So
so
what does that acronym
Shield in the
mean to
MC
you? It means that somebody really wanted our acronym to spell out SHIELD. Crack.
So, TLDR, in the MCU, SHIELD means Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division, and in the comic books, it stands for Strategic Hazard Intervention and Espionage Logistics Directive, which means that in the MCU specifically, they wanted to make it more American, which is kind of strange because SHIELD is a
global organization,
it's not
allegedly?
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Look, when it comes to comics, the only way I've really enjoyed them is just like the small what-if runs. Because they can do whatever the fuck they want with them and they don't have to deal with the massive baggage that comes with it. And as such, they usually end up just being better quality writing because they don't have to deal with all this extra bullshit.
I'm gonna post something real
And
quick.
it also means
the
that we got
different
one of my favorite versions of Spider-Man, where he ends up becoming a Russian assassin. And frankly, kinda terrifying. Basically, they figured out how to train his Spidey sense to be so good he can detect threats before they happen, like days before they happen. Like, there's fucking a panel in that comic where, you know, he's talking with someone because he's doing, like, spy work of some description. It's like, we'll have this and this for my friend. Make sure not to give my friend a knife. Or something like that. It's like, implying, it's like, yeah, I know you're going to try to stab me. I'm going to tell the waiter that, so you know that I know that you can't get away with this.
So, if we look specifically at the MCU version versus the comic book version, there's a distinct narrative that is being introduced here. So the top one is the comic book version, and the bottom one is the MCU version.
Oh, excuse me.
You are forgiven,
Gross.
mine child.
I'ma peg you.
Fucking race you to that bottom.
I mean, you do have a nice one, so yeah, sure.
You've not seen my ass.
I've seen you turn around in that bathrobe.
But
Also,
yeah, that's
look,
all.
I was born with a juicy ass and correct opinions. It's not my fault.
No, but you do have to deal with the consequences. God has cursed you. Enjoy.
I don't have to
was
deal
born
with
with
shit. I'm
I was born with
retarded.
a great ass and correct opinions. Fuck.
Anyway, swerving hardline away from this. Alara, the best. No.
Yes.
No, we're not gonna go down that
Alara.
path just yet. Oh yeah, I learned
What?
it since you seemed vaguely interested in it last time. I learned more about Strixhaven the other day, Dagger, and it gets worse.
Oh boy. Please tell us how.
Okay, so the two main characters for Strixhaven are
Oh
the
god.
nepotism made manifest characters of Will and Rowan Kenrith, who are literal Mary Sues. Blonde hair, blue eyes, respective fire and ice powers, literal royalty, are racist towards anything that isn't human, and allegedly super powerful.
Of course.
They are very one note in that they end up pulling off all of the baseline stupid things that get people irritated about Magic's color pie. It's like, hey, this is a red mage, and we're trying to show that they're a red mage by making them impulsive and brash, but they just come off as an asshole. And this is a blue mage, so we're going to make them aloof and logical and smart, but also make them come off as just kind of an asshole.
Let me
Everybody's an
let me
asshole.
guess. Every color pie issue basically boils down to misrepresenting the trait to the point where they just come out as just an asshole.
Yes.
I
This
have
is-
a quick question.
Yeah.
I saw a trailer for a Magic the Gathering thing earlier this morning, and is the fucking Magic the Gathering universe just dying or some shit?
Yes. Basically. So...
Let's go! It's dying! Fuck yes! Oh, I'm kidding. Partially.
I mean,
Actually,
I'm
maybe
50-50 with you there. I've been off of Magic lore for a while, but I'll give the lore recap that I started yesterday during Magic that we didn't end up finishing.
Oh god.
So, where to start with this? So, the Phyrexians are a sort of race of beings in Magic that originally started from Papa Daddy Eugenics, Yorgmoth, the Machine Father, who basically took over an artificial plane and then made his own sort of like cult thing called the Great Orthodoxy. That was basically if you made H.R. Geiger draw the bell curve if it were narrated by Darwinian socialism. With me so far. Alright, because it's about to get more from there. This is the start. Okay, so
How did we get here?
a lot of questions. Urza, the biggest cunt in the multiverse, or crippling autism turned into a planeswalker, whichever approach you want to take to him, assembles a group of planeswalkers who refrain from butting heads long enough for 30 minutes to try to stave off the first Phyrexian invasion of Dominaria. And I'm gonna have to condense the Weatherlight Saga, which is like 5 books, into a minute or two of explanation. Basically, they fight off the Phyrexian invasion of Dominaria. There's some scars left on Dominaria from that. Namely, a artificial planeswalker Urza created named Khan, the Silver Golem, who's specifically made of silver because apparently that's the only material in Magic that can time travel. I don't know why, but it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, so Khan becomes a very powerful planeswalker after the Phyrexian invasion is fought off. He goes and creates his own plane called Argentum. But whoops-a-daisy, he brought with him some Phyrexian oil and didn't notice, and trudged all of that over his brand new bath mat of a plane called Argentum. Khan goes to do Khan things. The Mirari Saga happens. Basically, the Mirari is this really powerful thing that ended up on Dominaria because reasons, and started basically making evolution go whack, and made Wirewood kind of obscene. Then the Mirari merges with Jessica and 2 other random ladies who I can never remember the name of, to become Corona the False God, after Jessica dies the second time. No, first time. Then they kill Corona and extract the Mirari from Corona, and Jessica gets separated. Then she dies. No. Yeah, then she dies a second time. Comes back as Phage the Untouchable because of the Cabal, and then has to die a third time, this time by her brother Kamal, who goes from being a barbarian warlord to a druid. Don't
As
worry,
you do.
don't worry about it. And then Jessica finally becomes a planeswalker. Anyway, not important. Khan takes the Mirari to Argentum for safekeeping, but while he was gone, the oil kind of started to slowly develop mycosynth. He didn't notice this just yet. He puts the Mirari onto Argentum and makes it into a thing, like a construct guy by the name of Memnarch, who also gets infected by the Phyrexian oil that was left there, and because of the Mirari's presence, the mycosynth goes insane. And basically the entirety of Argentum, which now becomes Mirrodin, mycosynth basically becomes the entire basis for the ecosystem. Effectively, mycosynth allowed the entirely metallic plane of Argentum to develop shit like trees and plants and crap. Then Memnarch, because he's really envious of the fact that Khan's a planeswalker and can travel the multiverse, wants to make himself a spark. So he makes a machine to steal people from other planes, so he can put them into a soul grinder, so he can easy bake oven out a spark for himself.
Aha!
This thing goes on for, like, a couple 100,000 years or something. It goes on for a while.
As you do.
And entire cultures and shit spread up from the people that got stolen there. Generations go by. Memnarch gets to the point where he can basically create a thing. But, before he is able to make a spark, a goblin by the name of Slowbad, a disembodied head by the name of Geth, and an elf by the name of Glissa, end up somewhere in Mirrodin's core, which is also very much surrounded by this mycosynth shit. End up confronting Memnarch. There's reasons behind this that I can't quite remember. Anyway, they confront Memnarch. Glissa dies, but also body chucks Memnarch into the Soul Grinder. And because Slowbad is one of the last living, well, not one of the last living, yeah, actually one of the last living things on Mirrodin, because the flip for the Soul Grinder has been switched, so it tried to absorb all the souls and crap. He gets the spark and becomes a planeswalker, but basically he's come to the conclusion, it's like, if his
Okay.
Hey Crow, I'm explaining things.
Hear me out.
Yep.
Okay?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need to know. Is sweat caused by water, or food, or both?
Both. Well, mostly water.
Sweat is made out of water, but also contains other waste products that the body just easily leaves through
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah.
Oh, goodbye,
Does
Dagger.
sweat have a scent that you
Yes.
don't eat?
I
It's
think
affected
so.
by nutrition.
Do not lick your sweat. Anyway, can I continue? Well,
Yeah.
Dagger left.
Yes.
I guess I continue even though Dagger left? But yeah, Slowbad not really seeing a point in a world where he doesn't have his best friend Glissa, after meeting Khan, because Khan comes back just after all of this has sort of happened. He comes back, offers to take Slowbad under his wing, but Slowbad decides that he doesn't see a point in a world without his friend Glissa, so gives up his spark to bring her back to life. And, fucking... what's it does? Yeah. So, hey, welcome back, Dagger. Okay.
Like,
Can
blurred
I
out.
continue? Do you want me to repeat what I started on?
No.
Pardon?
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
You're all good.
No, lore dumps just kind of fucking like make my brain just
Okay, I'm getting to the point. I have to explain why the Phyrexians are on Mirrodin. It's weird. Fucking, I was going over the timeline for Magic with Top Hat for like 2 hours straight, and I hadn't even gotten to present day by that point. And we kept going on tangents about Urza being a cunt, or we'll get to that later. Magic lore is probably a lot more involved than it should be.
Why is this fucking card game for fat nerds so complicated?
Because it's for autistic nerds. How dare we have simple things? Anyway, yeah, Slowbad gives up his spark to bring Nissa back to life. Geth is still a disembodied head who leads the zombies on Mirrodin. Then Slowbad comes out of Mirrodin's core with Glyssa, and then gets murdered by a bunch of goblins because they just saw all of their elders die in front of them because the Soul Grinder flip was switched and they don't know what to do, so they just murder Slowbad.
Slowbad.
Slowbad is the best. He's the bestest boy, and I'm so sad. And he came back in the New Mirrodin set as a twisted, deformed. It was very Pet Cemetery. He was also surrounded by Bosch's stuff, because Bosch is also I'm not going to get into Bosch. He's an interesting character on his own, but he's not integral to our point.
Get back to the point!
Yeah, so Mirrodin sits for a couple hundred years later, and we come to the Scars of Mirrodin block, where the first sort of the Phyrexian oil appears to be leaking out more onto Mirrodin's surface, as if it's been able to reproduce itself more. And over the course of the Scars of Mirrodin block, we start to see Phyrexian influence come back on Mirrodin. Which all culminates in New Phyrexia. TLDR, the Mirrans tried to fight and lost, because, unfortunately, the oil was already inside of the entire ecosystem of Mirrodin. Phyresis was inevitable. Like, there wasn't really a point at which there was a feasible success state for the Mirrans. Which is depressing. Basically, the best way to describe Mirrodin is, what if somebody saw Mad Max and thought, what if less leather, more chrome, and it was less pleasant?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like, Mirrans were already kind of like tough badasses, and now we're at basically where we are currently in present day. Every surviving Mirran on the planet is basically like, if you took the end of Predator 2, the end of Aliens 2, and put them into Predator. Like, it's the badassest of the badasses trying to survive in a world that's basically already decided that their lives are forfeit and their parts waiting to be scrapped. Because that's also a big thing in Phyrexia. Nothing goes to waste. Your parts are important. You are not. It's a lot. Importantly, because of how Mirrodin is set up and its 5 artificial suns, Phyresis on Mirrodin went way different than Phyresis on, Phyrexia. Because Phyrexia only had access to black matter entirely, so all of the Phyrexians on original Phyrexia were black matter aligned. Phyrexians on Mirrodin, because of access to all 5 colors of mana, are actually split into 5 separate sort of sub-factions, each with their own vision of what a perfect Phyrexia is. Which also means they take sort of the worst elements of each color and exemplify them. So, for example, the white-aligned Phyrexians, which feature a lot of teeth. A lot of bone and chitin and teeth and polished porcelain. They're the most visually distinct, I think, of the new Phyrexians. Are basically a cult. Like, they're just straight up a church cult. You have the blue Phyrexians, which are basically progress for the sake of progress to the point of ad nauseum, and they go on about how the great work must be done, and they're a lot of polished chrome and tendrils and shit. Black Phyrexians, which are... what if you took fascist political structures and tried to make an army out of it?
I hate gay people.
Yeah. Red Phyrexians, which are air quotes the nicest Phyrexians, because they are very much about individualism, but in a very, like, hostile way. Basically the American ideal of what freedom is.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Christ, man.
Yeah. That sort of thing. And technically Urabrask is harboring fugitives. Technically, because that's where the Mirren resistance that still is alive sort of lives. They live in the furnace layer. Also, apparently Mycosynth in the oil. The Phyrexian oil is a fungus. I don't know why it's called oil if it's a fungus, but it's a fungus. The more you know.
Don't think about it.
And then the green Phyrexians, which is if somebody read what Darwin, like read Darwin's survival of the fittest concept and took all of the wrong messages from it. It's... yeah. They have a lot of fur and spikes and, like, knotted stuff. And also, Vorinclex ended up on Kaldheim somehow. I don't know. At some point, each of the Predators ended up on certain other planes somehow. Through the Planar Bridge? Yeah, I think through the Planar Bridge through Tezzeret. Yeah, through Tezzeret. But yeah. Basically, did that whole thing. They stole a seed for this thing called the World Tree on Kaldheim, which is this Nordic-inspired plane, which is actually like 10 subplanes that are all connected by the World Tree, which means that technically the World Tree can survive in the Blind Eternities. So they stole a seed from that, took it to New Phyrexia, and made a thing called Realm Breaker, which is a Phyrexian version of the World Tree that literally spans the entirety of the multiverse from what we can tell.
So what you're saying is, this fucking tree connects to the entirety of the multiverse. Okay. What?
Oh yeah, no. It gets better.
Does that mean it connects to? Does that mean it connects to other world trees and other universes?
Technically, yes.
What if a universe doesn't have? Okay.
The way the multiverse is set up, the best, actually, a good way to look at it is each plane is its own sort of, like, you know, sphere of reality, or like a planet, where certain aspects of, like, the fundamental rules of reality might be different, and the Blind Eternities most resemble, like, deep space.
Mm-hmm.
You need a spark, usually, to cross the Blind Eternities, because it's actively hostile to existence, unless you're an Eldrazi? Question mark? Because from what we can tell, the Eldrazi were born there and live there, and might actually legitimately be the multiverse's cleanup crew. And we've killed 2/3 of them.
Hooray!
And the third imprisoned itself on a moon via a planeswalker, and decided to put itself there.
Gee, I wonder if that has any connection to why the universe is fucked right now.
Maybe. To be fair, the
MTG
Eldrazi
universe
were
dies.
asleep.
Does that mean the
Sorry, the Eldrazi were asleep on Zendikar beforehand. Sorry. Continue, Dagger. What was your question?
Quick thing. If the fucking MTG universe dies, does that mean that the Forgotten Realm universe is gonna like go kaput as well? Please.
I
Okay.
think
I'm only saying that.
I think
I'm
from
only
a
saying
lore
that,
point
right?
of view, the way MTG
Oh, go
treats Adventures in the Forgotten Realms is the same way it treats the unstable set, in that it's technically a different universe.
I know. It's just okay. So the reason why I say that, right, because in various D&D adventure modules, right, there are these like very suspicious obelisks obelisks, whatever you want to fucking call them.
Yeah.
That supposedly have one pure function:
Yeah.
resetting the Forgotten Realms universe. They are hidden and sprinkled out through multiple Forgotten Realm adventure books. Icewind Dale. What was that other book? The first one that came out, The Lost Mine of Phandelver. Descent into Avernus. What else? What was that? What was that one book where you had to take down a Serac?
Tomb of
Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Yeah, Tomb of Annihilation. It's in every book. Almost every book. It has a lot of the books have an obelisk connected to them. All of them have different functions, but their main function is to possibly reset the universe in a cataclysmic event, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, if they do manage to tie that in, that's going to be entertaining. But yeah, okay.
Imagine D&D year 50. Hey guys, with our final D&D book, we're going to be resetting Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, actually, I do have a list of the planes being invaded, but let me continue with the rest of this.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, so they stole Realmbreaker. Yeah, so they stole Realmbreaker. Stole the seed for Realmbreaker, and now Realmbreaker spans the Blind Eternities, and basically, we have Phyrexians at the gate. Basically at the gate to every plane. There's a few interesting things that come up. One, we know that the Phyrexians don't like the prospect of invading Alara because they refer to it as a quagmire, specifically because of Bant. Because apparently angels are just inherently immune to phyresis. Or Bant's angels are. We know that Halo, which is not drugs, kids, or not just drugs, kids, which is angel juice.
Yeah.
It's either angel blood or juiced angels, we don't know. Can stave off phyresis as sort of like a tincture. What else is that? Plane being in... Was it here? Invaded. But yeah. Yeah, there it is. Okay, anyway. The shorthand... Yeah, so the shorthand is... So they stole Realmbreaker. Realmbreaker now spans the Blind Eternities. There are a few other important things that come up. Namely, a few Planeswalkers got Phyrexianed somehow. So, Strike Force of Planeswalkers goes to New Phyrexia. Apparently they were anticipated and got scattered as part of their thing. And they bring with them the Golgothian Silex, or as I will now refer to it as, the Soup Bowl nuke. Sorry, they bring with them a copy made by Saheeli of the Soup Bowl, which is now more like a fruit bowl. Basically, the Golgothian Silex is an ancient as fuck artifact that Urza made before the war with the Phyrexians that, jokingly they refer to it as, it blew up a continent, which is a gross understatement of what that thing did. It took out a continent, set upon a centuries-long ice age, smashed 12 planes into one another, and locked them in place for the same amount of centuries, and could have possibly also fractured the space-time continuum.
So it's a very big fuck you button.
Yeah, so they take this copy of the Silex to New Phyrexia, and they want to go detonate it at the base of Realmbreaker, because they're hoping that will at least somewhat solve the problem. By the time they get to Realmbreaker, they already see that there are Phyrexians at the gate to most of these planes, either waiting for an order or already walking through. So they've got to hit the button now, but by the time they've gotten to that point, half of them were of the opinion of like, well, they've already made it. if we blow up this, there is actually a chance that we just straight up detonate the entire multiverse. Which, you know, is probably a bad thing. Jace, who's on the process of being phyresisted, you know, basically runs off to kind of get the Silex and place it at Realmbreaker to make it detonate. Then somewhere along the line he sets it off, but Elspeth comes in, planeswalks into the middle of the Blind Eternities with it as it's blowing up. So Realmbreaker's still in play, a few other things, but apparently Elspeth isn't dead, because we have spoilers of her existing. But yeah, the planes that are being invaded currently are Dominaria, aka where the center of Magic's story was for the longest time, Theros, the ancient Greek-inspired plane, which they managed to complete, which is the Phyrexian term for making you a Phyrexian. They managed to complete a god, so that's fun. We have Eldraine, which is where the Kenris are from. Ikoria, which is like a big damn Godzilla monster plane. Zendikar, Ixalan, Kamigawa, Amonkhet, and New Capenna. Namely, they really want New Capenna gone because it has an absurdly large Halo supply. So, Atraxa literally sent her pet project to go take out New Capenna. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. What else? But yeah, no, there's an amount going on of certain things. Where are we hiding? Actually, I have a thing here that I can pull up on stream. Here we go. So yeah, in fact, this may actually help with things. You can close. I don't need you. So, flavor text is probably the best way to get some of this lore in. So, New Capenna. Elish Norn sends Atraxa there. Oh, right. Yeah, no. Amonkhet is getting new life, which is probably a bad thing considering its zombie population. The invasion trees branches snake through the streets of Otawara, turning Kamigawa's soaring city into a clouded nightmare. On the surface of Ixalan's vast tar pits, Phyrexian oil glistened and old bones began to stir. The Royal, Zendikar's plane-wide immune system, rose in full force against the Phyrexian infection. Yeah, no, when things happen to Zendikar, it gets mad. Zendikar's basically a Karen. Sarah was a symbol of hope to Dominaria, so Norn defiled her temples with monuments to Phyrexia. Yeah, no, Norn's a bitch. She's also, like, straight up... Like, there's a reason she gets called, Phyrexian Mommy. She's very much that. The sky darkened and the seas turned to oil as the gods of Theros themselves fell to new Phyrexia. Deep in Eldraine's wild, strange eye-like appendages twined among the vines and fairy lights. Kaladesh's wondrous inventions and glowing ether were utmost interest to Jin-Gitaxias and his chrome host. As oil seeped from Ikoria's crystals, strange metallic mutations emerged in monsters all across the plains. Yeah, no. The multiverse is kind of fucked, and Dagger's gone.
Yep.
But yeah, which is weird. But we do actually get in one of the stories for it, we do get a specific thing of like both Tezzeret and some of Jin-Gitaxias's flunkies refer to specifically Bant and Alara as a quagmire of a battlefield. Because Bant has a, not necessarily unlimited, but a largely uncorruptible form, or like force of, you know, basically army of fighting warriors in the form of its angels. Which is interesting, and I kind of want to see what happens to Alara. But where we're sort of going with this, and I'm kind of worried about this because Mark Rosewater, on his Tumblr blog called Blogatog, which I love as a name, which also implies that his blog eats other blogs, because that's what ATOGs do, is they eat things and get more powerful. So you have Psychotog, which eats brain power and becomes stronger. I don't know. Basically, the events that come from this whole Phyrexian invasion thing are going to be a fundamental shift to magic mechanically and narratively, which, considering everything Hasbro's done at the helm, does not bode well.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
So, are we up in the Are we in the present day yet?
Yes. That is currently the
Okay.
present day.
Can we now talk about Alara?
Alright, yeah. So, Alara. Alara is my favorite plane in Magic, just fundamentally because it starts off as one plane, splits into 5 unique micro ecosystems, then gets smashed together and basically becomes a fundamentally different experience, and is a melting pot of... It's basically like the perfect TTRPG setting. Like, it's somebody took every aspect they loved out of a D&D setting and then slammed it together and then drizzled it with magic. Basically, part of me wants to write up a script and do a Spice 8-Rack style, fucking video on why Alara should have gotten a book instead of Strixhaven. If only because there's so much you can do with it. That's where Tezzeret came from. Tezzeret is, frankly, a phenomenal... He's a dick, but he's also a phenomenal character. He's, basically, yeah, he's a fundamentally self-serving and selfish character. And a... You know, he has vaguely, you know, reasonable reasons for why he is that way, considering he's a child of extreme physical and emotional abuse, who ends up on a plane where anything short of perfection is scrap. Because he ends up on Esper, on Alara. Basically, Esper conflux of Alara. The conflux is when the 5 shards of Alara smashed into each other. Is a plane that is devoid of red and green mana, where not a single element of existence has any form of, air quotes, chaotic element. Everything is catalogued, everything is known, and every single part of existence is sterilized, manufactured, and exercised by someone's will. So you end up with fucking, you know, most of the Esper population have parts of their body replaced with Ethereum, which is this magical metal that, from what we know, is literally made out of dragon shit. Or dragon blood? I'm not sure which it is. But yeah, no. You have the Seekers of Esper, which are basically glorified treasure hunters, whose entire purpose is to go find Karmot, which is the crystal that they manufacture into Ethereum. Ethereum also has, like, magic amplifying capabilities. And there's a lot that goes on Esper that boils down to, like, I think the best way to describe an Esperite's sort of approach to reality is, magic cast through the flesh is just as weak as the flesh itself. which is the flavor text for Lapse of Certainty or something, which also has some really freaky art, which I love. I'm gonna pull it up on stream and I'll also send it in voice chat.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, basically, where are you hiding? There. Come on. Lapse. Yeah, Lapse of Certainty. Oh, fuck yes, memory lapses in Predator. Oh, I'm so building tempo tomorrow. Alright. But yeah, no, it has some really fun art.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, it's not the flavor text for Lapse of Certainty. But it does also kind of fundamentally show parts of the Esperite philosophy.
Post it.
Magic is... without a connection of mind and body, magic is just an idea stuck in the head, a word on the tip of a tongue. Basically, everything on Esper boils down to, if you can catalog it, you can abuse it. If you can understand it, you can break it. So Tezzeret...
that is a freaky fucking aesthetic. I love that.
Oh yeah, no, I wish white had more counterspells. It might actually make the color interesting to me. It also feels like the most likely to put there with things like taxation and sort of tempo effects. They feel very like white counterspell. Basically, so Tezzeret planeswalks to Esper. Now, what do you think happens when a thoroughly physically and mentally abused child who's got a slight gift for artifice ends up on a plane whose entire mantra is artifice leads to perfection, but if it's not perfect, scrap it and be better? What do you think that does to a person?
That's gonna reinforce a lot of complexes.
Yeah, no, Tezzeret is less a person and more a bundle of personality flaws masquerading as a human. Well, not even as a human now. He's gotten full Terminator, and I love him for it. So, present day Tezzeret... Actually, no, we'll go over some other things. So, Tezzeret ends up becoming Bolus's bitch boy at some point. Then stages a coup on the Infinite Consortium, which is basically this plane-wide black market. Like, interplanar black market thing is basically what it ends up being. Basically, you could go to a cell of the Infinite Consortium on a plane and gain access to things from other planes, if you knew what you were asking for. Because it was connected via planeswalkers, and effectively planeswalkers could work as couriers. Bolus started it up as a way to sort of, like, gain influence over other planes and have a cell there, and then Tezzeret at some point stages a coup and succeeds and is one of the very few people who's able to actually, like, fuck over Bolus in that capacity. It doesn't go well for him. Bolus gets his mitts on Tezzeret and decides, congratulations, Tezzeret. You're going to go talk to the Phyrexians now. So now Tezzeret... So after that, Tezzeret now has to go deal with the Phyrexians, who decide that Tezzeret is a great pawn. Which, by the way, Tezzeret very much hates being people's pawn. Which shows through in, like, most of the times he shows up in any comics or stories. Bolus would send, like, imp minions towards him, and every time Tezzeret would fucking snap one's neck after it gave the message. He would intentionally kill it because he knew he couldn't do much. Because any direct fight with Bolus is usually a bad idea. It turns out a giant dragon planeswalker is usually pretty powerful.
Indeed.
Also, Bolus is a petty bitch. Like,
I mean, yeah.
The pettiest of bitches. Like, straight up planeswalks to Kamigawa to kill a spirit because 300,000 years, because he helped the ancestor of someone who killed Bolus once. You know, an ancestor who had been dead for 300,000 years.
Huh.
Bolus is a petty fuck.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Yeah, he earned his Grixis Colubi. Also, he wants to be like... He likes to call himself God Pharaoh or God Emperor. Like, he got a big ego on that boy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Bolus does, so Tezzeret then has to serve two masters, the Phyrexians and Bolus. He gets the planar bridge for Bolus at some point during Kaladesh. Oh, also, between New Phyrexia and the Kaladesh thing, the Infinite Consortium gets completely obliterated by Jace and Liliana, because Jace decides to. I'm not entirely sure on the reasoning, and Tezzeret gets kind of mind-wiped as part of it, but because he's helping the Phyrexians, and he's slowly replacing parts of his body with dark steel, which is basically this mostly indestructible material on Mirrodin.
Okay.
He's regaining parts of his memory. Don't know how that works, but altering his body regains some of his memory. He gets a planar bridge for Bolus, so Bolus can do the War of the Spark thing on... I'm not sure why he picks Ravnica of all places. I'm not sure why War of the Spark happens on Ravnica.
Fuck knows.
It might have something to do with... I think it has something to do with that's the only place he could set up Project Lightning Bug. Well, get Ral to set up Project Lightning Bug for him, unbeknownst to Ral. Basically, Project Lightning Bug is a giant beacon that calls planeswalkers. I think it's because Ravnica is like the most sort of easy to planeswalk to, but hardest to planeswalk out of, so the Immortal Sun can sort of take root there better. I don't know.
Okay. Where were we again?
We're explaining Tezzeret. Because
God, why?
Because he has sticky fingers in everything. And
I wanted to learn more about Alara.
Tezzeret's kind of... Actually, is Tezzeret important to Alara? Only sort of, kind of.
Don't I give a shit about him?
Bolus is important to Alara because he's the entire reason the conflux happened. And the reason he started the conflux is he wanted to siphon the sort of ley convergence of Alara. And then gets beat the shit out of by a furry.
Based.
Who summons an avatar of Nicol Bolas to deck Nicol Bolas. Using Nicol Bolas' own soul.
Fucking beautiful.
Yeah, no. Fucking Ajani pulls the "why are you hitting yourself" on an ancient Elder Dragon Planeswalker. It's the equivalent, because Ajani is native to Alara and is effectively a jungle hick. So it's effectively if Han Solo basically made fucking Darth Vader punch himself in the forehead.
Beautiful.
It's the best. But yeah, no, because Ajani's an Auramancer of some description, so he's able to sort of like amplify things that are already present in a person, or use their own sort of present energies to do stuff. Also, I need to very quickly go check what the fuck the dog's barking at.
Buddy, I actually don't think anyone's hungry in right now,
no,
but I'll keep the open air.
Nah, it's fine. I can see it. It's just the postie on the other side. I may have to dip out for that, but not just yet. Anyway.
Yep.
So that's Esper. The Conflux basically gets set into motion via Nicol Bolas' shenaniganery. And basically, the Conflux is so that Alara becomes a whole plane again, and and it sets up the Maelstrom, which is basically what happens when the new planes converge. Now, I'm not sure what happens, what you think, who thought it was a good idea to shove 5 completely different societies that have grown up without entire accesses to fundamental laws of reality, effectively, into each other. But I can tell you, the outcome is not great.jpg.
Very, very not great, but hey, it's gonna be entertaining at least.
Oh yeah, no, so basically what happens is Bant, and I'll actually very quickly go over the planes. So I have explained Esper. We have Bant, which is basically this romanticized chivalric French knight sort of microplane, where because it's developed without access to red or black mana, which sort of show off like the sort of selfish or not necessarily inherently destructive, but like red and black are white's enemies because red is chaotic and impulsive and does not sort of abide by law, and black is inherently selfish as opposed to white's sort of implied selflessness. So it develops without those elements, and as such develops into this chivalric, orderly plane, to the point where like counter magic as a concept on Bant is basically it's approached the same way like the French Renaissance approached painting. Like that's how they approached counter magic on Bant. Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting.
Got any other examples to help show off a good visual for how the plane looks?
Actually, yes, I can, because there is a blue-white counterspell that I absolutely love, which takes a lot for me, because I don't like blue-white counterspell. I don't like blue-white cards in general. Blue-white is not really my color pie. So we have... Actually, I can search for it on this. I don't remember the name, but I can go... I can't...
Don't worry about posting it in the chat because I can watch the stream.
Also right. Counter target. And then its colors, white, blue. Is it gonna do the thing? Or did I... counter... No, okay, it's done that wrong. Absorb... We also have Bant Charm, but yeah, no, it's a very pretty sort of thing. Again, yeah, Bant's approach to counter magic is very pretty. Here we go, Hindering Light. Yes, centuries of careful practice have elevated the casting of protective spells to an art form. What little offensive magic remains on Bant stands little chance of breaching them. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, take it that because of the stream delay.
Yeah. What else we got? We have Offering to Asha, where you literally turn a guy into coins.
Oh, there it is, Hindering Light. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah. We got Offering to Asha here, where this man is being ripped apart. Yeah, his body belongs to Bant now. His soul, I honestly don't know. I expect it belongs to the angels. Where he's being... So those aren't actually coins. They are sigils, which effectively on Bant are a sort of societal badge of honor. A sigil from a house of Bant effectively is a mark of honor and valor. And yeah, actually, one of the ways it was described is a sigil is not just a reward, but also an obligation. Again, very much that chivalric knightly concept. Yeah, this one's Esper, this counterspell, but you can definitely see the sort of disparity between the types of counter magic between them. You know, Bant, it's all very, like, not necessarily flashy, but it's very, like, there's almost an air of familiarity and at least compassion in them. And then you have the Esper counter-charm called Punish Ignorance. Amateurish, nearsighted, a waste of my time and everyone else's. Fundamental differences between two planes that ostensibly should share some identity. It's very interesting to see the differences.
It really does.
But yeah, anyway. Shrink. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, so that's Bant. We have Esper, which I've explained. Esper also has a weird sort of approach to almost artifice necromancy.
Uh-huh.
Not much I can explain more so on that, but there's some interesting things that come with that. Then we move on to Grixis, which has Grixis, which is probably the edgiest plane, let's be perfectly honest. It's either that or Jund. One of those two is the edgiest. Fucking Grixis is a plane that had to develop without access to green or white matter. Fundamentally, life energy and order. Sort of the two things that come with that. Anyway, as such, Grixis, life is a commodity on Grixis. Like, the actual energy itself, which Grixis refers to as Vis, is a currency. So what little things that live there are the form of necromancers, or things that are able to affect or manipulate Vis, or are demons. Because actually, fundamentally, before Alara was split, its major conflict was a demon-angel war that was sort of going on in the background between Asha, who from what we know is a 5-color angel, which is fun to know, and Malfagor, who's a demon dragon.
Ballin'.
Yeah, so actually, I could pull up some decent Grixis demons. And also vampires and stuff. Type demon set Alara.
And I'm assuming here the difference between what is an undead and what is a living thing is more based on how much Vis you have at any given time.
Vaguely. Set.
How enjoyable.
I think Alara was ALR. Hang on, set. Shards of Alara. Or set. Conflux. Or set. Alara Reborn. And then we go and close that. Yeah, I'll pull up some for art. This should work. Oh, what? ARB. What? We won't set for... Why is it not reading that? Oh. That's why, because I put O instead of T. But yeah, no. Illusory Demon, which is actually from a convolate, is something that came from the Maelstrom itself. Also, is kind of interesting for a blue-black style Sui Black deck. The Maelstrom, a trick of the light, can feast on human flesh. You know, the Maelstrom on Alara is fucked. It's basically a confluence of raw mana with vague sentience. There.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, there's only a few demons. But yeah, we got, again, demons basically native to Grixis have a very distinctive theming here, as opposed to, like, a lot of other planes, they, you know, demons kind of follow a pretty typical look, and then you have ones on Grixis, which are all just really nasty looking. They're like,
Flesh,
they're
meat,
amalgamation, meat. Yeah, they're amalgamations of meat, bone, and lightning. Oh yeah, no. The only weather on Grixis, by the way, wants you dead. It's lightning and blood rain, basically. 24/7. But yeah, no, you got
Has anything... How do people live there? Barely.
They don't. Why do you think 90% of the population is undead? But yeah, no. Fucking, you got this nasty guy with, like, faces in his arm.
Ooh.
We got this. Honestly, this is the most normal looking demon ever, and he still looks like a goddamn Chad. The fucking extractor demon. Oh yeah, Grixis. Literally, the art for Prince of Thralls just sets up Grixis in a nutshell. That's what it looks like all throughout Grixis, at least pre-Maelstrom. Yeah, there are none alive I cannot crush. There are none dead that I do not command. Basically, Grixis is a necromancer's paradise. Now we move on to Jund, which probably might be my favorite plane on Alara, because it's a biological and evolutionary challenge. How do you create a plane with hyperpredation as its main concept? Well, it turns out there are a lot of very interesting things that happens. For example, there's a zombie leech whose flavor text is it adapted to the overabundance of food by growing more mouths.
Oh dear.
There are lizards in here that adapted to being eaten by germinating after death. You know how, there are certain plants and shit in Australia that germinate after a wildfire?
Yeah.
That's a large chunk of sexual reproduction on Jund. The goblins worship dragons as gods and give sacrifices as fertility rituals. 90% of the world is jungle and volcano.
Hell yeah.
There are entire, oozes that are effectively... What if a Venus flytrap could move like a snail? And was the size of a house?
I need to see some You need to bring up some cards, for example, because this is just beautiful. And also all the art for all the Alaran cards are very pretty, because they all look very different from each other, despite being
it's
sort
very
of the
distinct.
same thing.
Yeah. Should be Bloodhole Ooze? That's the ooze specifically. Yeah, this fucker. What the fuck is this? It's also very pretty. But,
That is very cool.
We also have Sprouting Thrynax. Which is this lizard boy that, when he dies, he makes saplings. The vast network of predation on Jund has actually caused some strange creatures to adapt to being eaten. What?
With Spartan Phalanx says create 3/1/3 Spartan creature tokens.
Yeah, no, it dies and creates 3 homies. So, the flavor is... Oh yeah, so actually each of the shards had a core mechanic, which also helps sort of dictate it. Bance was exalted, so whenever a creature attacked alone, it got bonuses due to how many creatures or things you had with exalted. And basically, creature attacks alone was its mechanic. Sort of like a chivalric dueling thing. Espers was coloured artifacts. Not the most exciting on hearing, but it was also the first introduction of this concept, which is now actually an evergreen mechanic. But it was very much like... It was kind of groundbreaking for the time. Grixis was the unearth mechanic. A lot of creatures on Grixis could come back from the dead with haste. Yeah, basically, necromancy was cheap and easy. But they would get rid of themselves afterwards. Again, this is a dying resource. Jund, appropriately, was the devour mechanic. which is, whenever you played a creature with Devour, you could sacrifice any number of creatures, and then it would get a number of counters equal to its Devour mechanic. Actually, I'll bring up one of my favorites. Devour... Hang on, no, I want... it did a bad. Devour... X. There was this one. So, this is a legendary creature, which we assume is from Alara. We don't actually know. But Thromok the Insatiable. Devour X, where X is the number of creatures devoured this way. As this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it for each of those creatures. So this one goes quadratic. You sacrifice 3 creatures and it comes in with 9 counters.
Oh no.
It gets big fast. This fundamentally explains what Jund as a thing does. In fact, I vaguely remember there being... Also, this was the only subset of this plane that still had dragons. So... Which, on Jund, they were called Hellkites. Which I love as a name for dragons, and I'm so sad that it isn't a term that's used more often in, like, outside of Magic. For some reason, like, it seems to be a namely Magic thing. Yeah, we have Hellkite Hatchling, which is this tiny little dragon boy that has flying and trample if it devoured a creature. Here we go, Hellkite Overlord. Actually, yeah, each of the colors also had, like, a signpost mythic, and also a way to cheat that mythic in set. It was actually kind of fun. It was a nice little bit of world building. But yeah, this guy fundamentally explains what Jund does. It's a big, flying, trampling creature that gets bigger and refuses to die. It is Jund's equivalent of an apex predator. And even the apex predator needs defenses to not die. That's Jund in a nutshell. We read Darwin and took the other wrong messages from it. So yeah,
A fucking ecosystem that only works due to the fact that literal, any form of restraining aspect of reality that would have caused it to become a bit more normal was just physically disallowed.
Yeah, exactly. No white mana, no blue mana. No form of control or order was left on Jund.
It's so fucking beautiful.
It's just gorgeous. So what's your name? Were you Savage Grounds? I'm trying to pull up the land for it, because weirdly Jund, because it's very creature centric, all of the art for the creatures and things on Jund are focused on the thing and less on the background.
Mm-hmm.
No. Actually, this guy comes from, Naya, which is the next plane we'll be talking about, but it's also pretty fun. What the fuck are you? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know this card existed. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Savage.
That's an orangutan.
Savage Lands! Yeah, Jund is a world as cruel as those who call it home. Their brutal struggles scar the land even as it carves them in its image, a vicious circle spiraling out of control. That's not how circles work, but it's 90% of the land is volcanoes and predatory jungle. It's fucked, which is kind of why I love Jund.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody took the concept of how do you make an entirely predatory ecosystem work, and then realized, okay, Well, step it back 2 notches on the entirely predatory, but not on the crazy. Notable things from Jund in terms of characters, we have Raka Ma, and actually, importantly, during the conflux, a bunch of Esperites ended up in Jund because for some reason they wanted to do this thing where they sort of jumped aspects of them so that the planes... From what I can tell, the planes ended up bordering the two... Each plane that were... Sorry, the subplanes ended up bordering the two most likely to oppose them. So, Bant ends up next to Grixis. Esper ends up next to Jund. Jund ends up next to Esper? Sorry, Naya ends up next to Esper. And, like, the culmination of the planes ends up with this, you know, hodgepodge puzzle piece thing. Anyway, so you end up there. The Seekers from Esper end up making their way to Jund at some point, and you end up finding a few interesting things that come with this, namely, actually, I'll move on to fucking Alara Reborn art, by the way, because it's really pretty. There is some stellar pieces from that set that I just adore. Because there's like Law Scale Mystic has some really nice art, but actually, yeah, I'll pull up Law Scale Mystic. Law Scale?
Let me think. We've done. Let's see.
Where the only one we haven't is Alara.
Oh, let's see.
Vidalcan Heretic, this one. And also Vidalcan Ghoul, which shows you Esper's pseudo... is sort of Esper's necromancy, which is very not Escher, but like very... It's a little more Geiger than Grixis is. Oh yeah, so from what we can tell, this guy here, this zombie reclaimed the Ethereum after he was killed. And tried to piece himself back together after the Ethereum was ripped from his body. But this one here, this one actually quintessentially explains part of why I like Alara Reborn. Because you have every sort of faction that existed ended up splintering off into, if not 3, at least 2 sub-factions within them. So you have Esper Vidalcan that just straight up, upon finding Naya, fundamentally realized their very narrow scope on what existence is the, I guess, the Doctor Strange analogy of this whole life you have been a man looking through a keyhole, and now as soon as that door is opened, you shun away from the light. And also, he's holding on to a snake that appears to be wanting to choke him to death. But it's just really pretty art. And
very pretty art, but for a second I thought it looked like he literally had a gigantic long snake neck.
He does look like he has a giant snake neck. But you know, that's his head, and then that's the snake.
Yeah, I see the difference now, but
yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. So now we'll move on to Naya. Specifically, this is Conflux Naya. Naya is basically... The best way to describe it is a pseudo-hippie plane, and follows Magic's weird history of, if there is a human faction on a plane that worships gods, or worships something as gods, there will be a cat people species on that same plane that finds that the humans worshipping gods is a stupid idea.
it's happened more than once.
It's happened twice, as far as I remember, possibly 3 times. First,
Oh yeah.
first thing shows up with Naya. So you have the humans and elves of this plane, which worship the... In fact, I will pull up God Tracker. Basically, the worshippers of this call themselves God Tracker. That's not the button.
So what colors would this lack? That would be... let me see...
Blue and black. Which ends up with Naya being a exceptionally lush, verdant paradise, basically. This one fundamentally explains part of the sort of shake-up between, you know, old Naya and new Naya and the God Trackers. But basically, the God Trackers would follow the behemoths of Naya because they were effectively, you know, natural disasters and stuff made manifest into beasts, so they were worshipped as gods. And then you had the Nakadal, which did not worship the gods and often came into conflict with the humans and elves of Naya for some reason. And then this same thing kind of happens on Theros, with the Leonin of Theros not worshipping the gods of Theros and often fighting with the humans. It's weird that it happened twice. Kind of interesting as to like how that ends up playing out. Anyway, so we got God Trackers, and then I vaguely remember this guy. Here we go, Sages of the Anima. Yeah, I think the full religion is actually called the Anima. So Naya, post conflux, is probably the one that gets it off the least shitty because they are the least, air quotes, organized. The God Trackers found new pantheon of beast gods outside of Naya's border. So you have these Sages of the Anima, who are here on Esper, tracking this Ethereum sea serpent thing. And then, you know, the guy we saw before, the God Tracker of Jund, basically goes, man, the god beasts on Naya are glorified cows.
I want to worship a dragon.
Yeah, basically. And starts emulating dragons. Though, I will say, Naya's ecosystem is probably jacked, considering, if I remember correctly, parts of it ended up smashing up right next to Jund. So, you know, that's good. You know, the plane of hyperpredators smashing next to the verdant landscape. Oh god.
Whoops, someone's gonna cause a mass extinction.
Again, Putrid Leech. One of, like, just because of everything it does, sells me so much. That's the wrong Putrid Leech. This is the Putrid Leech I love. The one that looks like a giant zombie tongue. With what appears to be a millipede head. It reacted to Naya's overabundance of food by overabundant food supply by growing additional mouths. I just love the story it tells, its clean design, and it's also a pretty good card, honestly.
Pay 2 life, pay 2.
Yeah, it's a 4/4 for 2. At the cost of 2 life. That's it.
Yeah.
At common. It's just a good card. Anyway. Moving on. So that's each of the planes pre-conflux. You end up with the conflux that ends up happening, and then things get messy. So in addition to the leyline maelstrom pulses that happen that just straight up created pseudo-extinction events at random, and the maelstrom forming like cascade events, in fact I can pull up a card to reference it. Maelstrom Nexus. Did you have flavor text? No. You've never had flavor text, apparently. But yeah, no. This is the center of Alara at this point. Basically, the fundamental sort of like raw manner of the plane infuses everything and shit goes apeshit quick.
Oh dear.
And as such, you know how I mentioned, the sub-faction splits?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love is that some of the sub-factions were actually represented by... What's its ass? Like, sort of signpost enchantments, I think. In Alara Reborn. So, set... ARB... Enchantment... is... Right, I keep forgetting what that is. And I spelled enchantment wrong. But yeah, I vaguely remember there being like a set of two colors.
Mm-hmm.
Enchantment. Oh, rare is not a type. Yeah, here we go. I could have sworn there were more. But yeah, no, we get these sort of things of, namely, like Cloven Casting and Necromancer's Covenant. This one kind of shows that applying white mana to Grixis kind of just ended up forming a crooked influence of the sort of power structures at large in there, and just gave them more power.
Aha!
Yeah. Also, fun character we kind of learn of from here is Breya. Breya is, and also apparently sort of spurs on a sort of red-aligned Esperite thing. So you get some interesting things here. But namely, her, Breya. What that chest do. Breya basically is an Esperite who managed to align herself enough with Jun's sort of chaotic storm magic, and is basically pioneering Esper's... is basically if Apple had actual good ideas, but as an Esperite.
Aha!
Pioneering technology. She also made this random homie called... what actually is his name? Set... Commander Legends. Type Legendary Artifact. Creature. Colors black. Here we go. Armix, Filigree Thrasher. Basically, it's a murder bot that went psycho that she's just like, no notes. You're my bodyguard now. He's very spiky. So yeah, basically, there are a lot of characters that sort of fulfill, things like Breya's role upon different factions within Alara. You've got Mael, who basically worshipped Progenitus, who came back, which is basically this Hydra avatar that's Alara's sort of soul made manifest, and was dormant underneath Naya until the conflux.
Aha!
Yeah, conflux woke the 10-headed Hydra up, and I think it kind of sits around the Maelstrom now, or at least still exists in some capacity. It's
I see.
Pretty interesting overall. But yeah, again, back to the whole, like, why we should have gotten a Alara book instead of a Strixhaven book. One, each of the factions in there would play fucking phenomenally with the faction rules. 2, it is such a... In the same way like Dark Sun would be a great way to expand exploration rules, so would Alara, because it's fundamentally a hostile environment with a lot to explore, and centuries of history, because there is 3 very large, very long, distinct periods of time. You have pre-separation Alara, which is sort of the air quotes most peaceful, but also the most air quotes magically advanced era. Then you have the Shard era, where you have vastly different ecologies and relics and just sort of magical things. And then you end up with what happens past the Maelstrom and what's happening with the Maelstrom. And it's... I wanna adventure in this setting. There's so much here. You have the God Trackers, and they would make such a perfect sleeper villain, I'm not gonna lie. Considering they are so, like, single-minded in what their goal is, and what their goal is just appears to be, oh, they're just random hippies. Until you realize, like, yeah, they're random hippies who want to channel literal fucking god beasts. And basically spur them on to do things. In fact, some of them literally used to whip up and send things like Godsire onto fucking frenzies throughout Naya pre-Maelstrom. Where is Godsire? Yeah, no, this is also the signpost for Naya. This is... It's a very big boy that makes even more big boys. It's an 8/8 with vigilance for 8 that taps to make 8/8s. Lay sacrifice to the Godsire that it may spare us, but save some for his progeny who will also hunger. Right, sometimes they call themselves God Toucher, which sounds weird. Also,
They probably do it, you know.
where's its eyes?
Don't know.
Yeah. And I remember there being alternate art for this, but apparently not. Huh.
Huh.
Well, yeah, no, this is the beast token it makes.
Huh.
This one has eyes, and is vaguely appropriate to a Ridge Runner. Ridge? Was it a Ridge Runnet? I bet... Fucking, I know what this thing is. What is your name? Ridge Rannet. Whatever the fuck this thing is. Only those with the strength to seize their destiny deserve to have one. Huh.
What's in the cock thing?
Yeah, the Nakatl are the cat people of Naya. That pretty much sums up what they are. That's where Ajani comes from.
Uh-huh.
Huh. Okay, so they're called Rannets, which is a dumb name. Here we go, Valley Rannet. And then you got this fucker. Which is a very large boy, but also it's 6 mana and dies to bolt. Which is very sad. Anyway, moving on. Basically, I want to take a look at this whole thing. I want to... Like, you have perfect plot hooks in the Seekers of Esper going to Jun trying to find Karmot. You have fucking Bant's pseudo-invasion of Grixis, You have the constant sort of pseudo-war that's going on all the time. It's such a ripe sort of world for adventuring in. And it has... despite being in the same way that, like, Dark Sun is very apocalyptic, it's still apocalyptic, but it doesn't have that loneliness that Dark Sun has. Like, Dark Sun, you feel lonely, and... like, the world feels empty and harsh for its emptiness. Alara feels harsh for its crowdedness. They're two very different approaches to, like, what happens during an apocalyptic event. If Dark Sun is post-apocalyptic, Alara is apocalyptica.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
And also, just mentioning the explosion idea, I just have an entire bloody system of... maybe just turning the Maelstrom into just... It's a very, like, a randomly generated hex crawl.
Honestly...
of just random bits of land smashed together, it's constantly changing because it is just a nightmarish, magical-filled hellscape where things are just constantly ground into each other endlessly.
Another one of my just favourite cards, just from a mechanics point of view, is Maelstrom Pulse. And also the flavor text on it. You'll notice a lot of my favourite cards come from, like, a Lara block or a black-green. Look,
yeah.
I have a type.
And also I just have... I think you can just literally take all the appropriate land cards from, like, from the basic set, and, like, allow specific stuff, and just using them as templates for, like, specific biomes, or basically using them as templates for, like, the biomes you have in D&D, which are used to sort creatures based on what environment you're likely to have them in, until they start writing that down, which is annoying because that was actually useful shorthand.
Yeah, no, again, so, like, Maelstrom Pulse here. This shit's a regular occurrence still.
Yeah.
We also have this homie here, Hubris, who's this ogre that apparently knows how to tap into the Maelstrom. We have the Maelstrom Archangel, which I have no clue what's going on here, or why she has a foot. No, okay, that's her helmet floating on a rock. For the longest time, I thought there was a foot coming out of a portal. But I have no clue what's going on in this art half the time I look at it. It's really dark.
Oh dear, the feet dimension.
Oh no. But yeah, so with the exception of Maelstrom Jin, Maelstrom Use here, and Iridian Maelstrom, everything here is from Alara. Which is strange, considering you'd think things, for, like, Maelstrom, just the term, would show up more, but no, seems pretty exclusive to Alara. But yeah, no, we have effectively an embodiment of the Maelstrom as this angry elemental centipede thing. Yeah, nothing of the Maelstrom is quiet or easy. This is basically just the land made manifest. Again, Alara is a lot, and I love it for it. But yeah, like, just straight up, if they're going to do the same approach that they do with a lot of the D&D books, which I'm not super opposed to, it gives them a reason to publish new books that isn't, actively creatively draining beyond, hey, make a new set and make it worthwhile for everyone. Having it be, the exploration and, as you said, the randomly generated hex crawl thing, and, like, actively expanding on that would be perfect. I'm so surprised they didn't.
It's annoying that annoying that the rules we have for exploration and hex crawling are a bit...
Instead, we got Strixhaven, which gave us Check's notes, abstracting entire semester's worth of research into a single skill roll.
I guess the dating sim was okay.
There was a dating sim?
Apparently there was a dating sim, which leads to the funny joke of... Yeah, if the best thing about it was the dating sim in a fucking tabletop role-playing game, then maybe there might be something that went wrong along the way. Especially
Yeah.
when the setting is a fucking magical school.
Yeah. That's also apparently run by a Planeswalker Illuminati?
Apparently, the plan was me had a bunch of dragons which represented some primordial aspects, and they sort of headmasters at the school or something on the fucking ever. I don't know. I just remember there being a bunch of really powerful dragon NPCs who are like
basically
part of the school.
Strixhaven as a college has 5 sub-campuses, which
Mhm.
all represent different enemy colored pairs. And each of those campuses is created and headed by a separate dragon. But each campus also has a dean, or sorry,
Mhm.
two deans, which are
Mhm.
represented by flip cards for some reason. I don't know, but basically, Strixhaven is fucked because the main antagonist for the story of Strixhaven is this dude that they, try to make look like Voldemort, whose entire motivation is, hey, maybe the place that has the library of all the knowledge of the plane shouldn't get to pick and choose who gets to go to college. And that's the bad guy, apparently. And we're supposed to root for the 2 nepotism twins who are vehemently racist towards anything that isn't a human.
Huzzah!
It's like, why? Of all the things you could do, why? Why would you choose this?
Why? Don't be racist. Why?
And like the other worst part about this is the Strixhaven thing reeks of, well, we were able to get away with just making a small book thing with all the other settings because they had established settings, so we'll just do the same thing with this new one, forgetting the fact that Strixhaven is a completely new plane that they kind of just made up for no reason.
Yeah.
And
with
then,
no previous lore information on anything, so
yeah.
here's a new race called the Owlin. What's their lore? Go fuck yourself. Okay, Magic the Gathering. Do you have any lore? D&D doesn't have anything. Also, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the Owlin just appear to be owl people who live on Arcavios. Though, we did get one interesting thing from them.
What?
The Mage Hunter, which is basically a giant fucking praying mantis mage slayer monster. That's frankly kind of cracked.
It is kind of cracked. It is kind of cracked.
It's like, hi, that's a nice fireball you have. It's a shame you have wizard hit points and I'm gonna take half of it with me. For no goddamn save, either. It just procs if it fails the save. Actually, I think it procs if it succeeds the save, too. So, there's a point at which where it takes a quarter of the damage and the caster who cast it takes half of the damage of their own spell. Theoretically, it could take an eighth of the damage if it had resistance. What the fuck?
Well, they don't call those things Mage Slayers for a reason.
Yeah, I think they're called Mage Hunters.
I missaid the quoting in the word. Forgive me, I am stupid.
No, it's fine. I called them a Mage Slayer because I was like, that's the type of monster it is. Like, that's its role.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's kind of correct. But yeah, what I'm just thinking is like, okay, you put me in charge of Alara. What's the first monster I put in to fulfill the same role as the Mage Hunter?
What?
Well, not necessarily the same role, but like the same sort of niche of here's a big signpost monster that you would use even outside of the setting. Part of me wants to go with Hellkites. Or one of the Devour elementals. Because I can absolutely have it do a thing where it's like, yeah, no. It eats comrades. It eats its allies. And becomes exponentially stronger. Maybe the Bloodhall Ooze, which just gets stronger the longer it's around. To sort of like, it's like, okay, well, even if it's a solo monster, it's going to sort of fuck with the action economy because the longer it stays around, the stronger it gets. Like, I don't know, let's do something cracked. Every round it gets it rolls 2 extra hit dice to add to HP and an extra attack dice. Catch these fists, fam! Tell me that doesn't sound like a fun monster fight, though.
It does sound fun, but also sounds scary.
It's like, oh my fucking god. Like, you need to put that bitch down quick.
But yeah, perfectly down for assisting you whenever all weird hyperfixations
Look, honestly, if I were
link up and we decide, fuck it, we're writing the Alara book.
If I were to do that, I'd honestly just shove them into Red Earth. Because frankly, Jund is a great look at, like, what is weird spec evolution that could work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be right back. I'm just going to grab some mixer to mix with my rum.
Well, bring the community the book that they should have gotten.
But yeah, no, honestly, so I did have a thought on the walk home. So, one of the things I want the bestiary to sort of work for in Red Earth is I'm going to have to overhaul the draft engine and Warbeast chassis in some capacity. Or just, like, make mentions like, hey, you can select from different monsters, they'll have extra costs associated with picking a specific one. But, literally going like, yeah, there's, if you want, you can pick an elephant as your Warbeast. As your Warbeast engine, and it has an effect as opposed to like, yeah, it's a floating Megalodon or whatever, and we give each of them like a weight class classification or something. They'd have like an almost inverted weight class thing where it's like most of them will say any all if they're big enough, and they sort of like just restrict to like, light. There wouldn't be any that are just going to be medium weight. This was like medium or light stuff like that. Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to do is like, so players get attacks. Like get to make attacks with weapons and stuff. Monsters, I'm just going to give them a list of actions they can take and a number of points per turn they can use for those actions. Just to sort of go, yeah, the GM has stuff, the Chrome Dome has stuff they can do. That is notably different and feels different to it just being a vehicle. Despite the vehicle stats working pretty well universally, they work well for like, if an animal pulls a thing, but they aren't necessarily the greatest for this is just the animal. Anyway, I'll be back. I'm going to go grab Peach iced tea.
Boop 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 boop. Think I'm only one watching the stream. Boop boop boop. This is the song we sing when Lex is getting her drinks. We get absolutely content on rum and mixer. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 ba ba da boopy da to say. It's getting hazy on the Titan Talk. Hey! Welcome back.
Baron Samity and Peach iced tea, aka one of the cheapest and nicest tasting quadruple strength drinks I know.
Poggers, my lady.
It goes down pretty smooth and it tastes delicious because it turns out everything in Baron Samity goes well with herbal shit. Because of course I have lesbian drinking tastes. What do you think I have tequila? I drink exclusively tequila and spiced rum. They're strong as shit and they pair well with basically just tea.
Oh, lesbian.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. Also, specifically the Lipton one, because it tastes more tea-y than most of the others. Because most of the others just kind of taste like sugar.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. Double dog dare you to dig in the snow. I like my odds. Don't tell me no. I have been streaming for 2.5 hours. Unless you got something you want to spiral off onto into a tangent. Like any pressing questions? Haven't really got anything from chat for a while. But he's fine.
Brain is currently nothing really.
Yeah. Then that'll probably be the end of the stream. Spread love, be kind, remember to punch a fascist.
And
Sure.
also make sure you don't slur your words.
I'm gonna fucking
Otherwise
fight. I'm gonna fight you.
You'll fight literary fascists, also known as grammar Nazis.
Congratulations. Your pun made it into the end of the stream, you dick.